All right, good morning, everyone. It is Friday. We're going to wrap things up this week. We got Dylan back on, and we got a special guest on today. We got his partner, Seth. So, first time on the channel, and we're going to give him a quick 60-second spiel to tell us who he is and kind of a little backstory on himself. So, morning, Seth.
Yeah, good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite, Dylan. So, Mark will give you the hopefully not boring version. So, when I was little, I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and people would ask me like, "Well, what kind of business do you want to start?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really care. I just want to be in the game, right?" And my dad worked. He just retired. He worked 44 years in a factory, and I knew, those long 12s, those 60-hour weeks weren't for me. So I said, what's the shortcut here? So I ended up doing an internship for a guy in college, and he was like fast-paced entrepreneur, start a business every week. It's like, man, that sounds a lot better. So I ended up kind of going down the path of entrepreneurship and then using those profits that I ended up making to invest into real estate, which, to me was the shortcut to not doing 44 years in a factory. Let's get to financial freedom. Let's do what we want to do and control our time. So ended up building a bunch of different businesses. I think, built 3 different multi-million-dollar businesses so far, working on the 4th, I hope. Bunch of different types of businesses. We built e-commerce, built coaching, built agencies, like Dylan and I will talk about in a little bit, but kind of just different businesses. But the whole model for me, Mark, was take kind of digital online profits where you can get super high margins and then take that cash and buy permanent income in real estate. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. Does that paint the picture at all?
That is perfect. And if anyone does want to know more about Seth, I put all his links in the chat. So you have his Instagram, his YouTube, his X. So go follow him there. And if you want to know more, there's also his email in the chat. So connect with him.
Yeah, reach out. I'd love to help if I can.
And there's Dylan's YouTube channel also. So if you haven't, go subscribe, go reach out to them. But I want to know more, like, how did you two connect, and how has Dylan been? I mean, is he like we all know Dylan from the school community, and he is a go-getter. But tell us more about your guys' partnership.
Yeah, Dylan, you want to start or me, buddy?
I mean, so the guy that Seth ended up interning for, he was a family friend of mine. So like my parents, and I ended up just growing up around them building businesses. So by the time Seth and the other guy had, like our other partner had sold off their previous business, I was graduating college at the time, and they needed help with some tech stuff. Well, I started helping them with some tech things as a consultant, and then it transitioned into me just like eventually running everything on the ops side, I guess. If that makes, would you say so, Seth?
Well, Mark, if you have hung around Dylan at all, he has, like I said, unlimited energy. So I didn't really know what we were getting into. I'd kind of been around Dylan, and he's got this infectious energy. And I was like, I don't know, what we can do with him, but there's a lot there. So let's see. And then he eventually just like takes over everything. He's like, I can handle this and this and this, and like, and just literally runs the whole show. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, you don't want to lose Dylan.
That yes, we do. We've met him in Vegas, and yes, he is definitely full of energy and a go-getter. But so like you talked about, do you think I mean you reached that 5 point. I also know Dylan mentioned, right? So but I also saw on one of your web pages you're starting a 4th business, though, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is the is reaching financial free? You're not just sitting on a beach all day and just relaxing. And so what's the reason for going for number 4?
Well, we sold a couple of businesses, and before we built number 3, the one that we built with Dylan, I had sold for a significant amount of money. I didn't have to work for a long time if I didn't want to, as long as I wasn't really dumb. And sitting there for months, 6 months, 9 months, and literally it's not too fulfilling, Mark. I don't know. Like for me, I got to grow and I got to contribute. And I wasn't really getting much of that. It's fun to kind of take a breather, but like you're not going to do that for the next 50 years. What I saw in my dad was he didn't get to choose whether or not he worked. And that's what I wanted to decide. So it's like, I want no ceiling on my income. I want to work on what I want. And then now that's exciting. Dylan and I have talked about this many times. It's like you can't get to a point where you're like, I'm done with life, because then you literally die inside, right? So it's like, yeah, you can be financially independent, but what's the next challenge? How can I help? Where can we grow? Like, I don't have to be here with you, but this is fun to me. this is, this is why Dylan and I do what we do. This is why we invest in real estate and do all this stuff, is because it's literally, the zest of life, I guess you'd say, Mark. So yes, I don't have to, but I'm not going to sit on that beach for 50 years, like you said, maybe a couple weeks a year.
All right, I wanted to say good morning to some people tuning in from the community. So we got Flavio, good morning from Grandview, Washington. We got JC here, Jason. He's kind of close to you guys somewhat, I believe.
Chicago.
Yeah, we got All Nighter Hider tuning in, and Alex, the accidental investor. So good morning, everyone. Yeah, I kind of want to know, like, so starting a business, I think that is great for especially kind of what the economy looks like now, right? I mean, people are trying to find ways to earn extra income or have that side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
But do you see a big difference from like your first business to your fourth business? I mean, what are you doing more like passion projects now, or how is that?
Well, Mark, what all business kind of eventually looks like is you setting strategy and managing people. That's kind of like what you get to as you progress. And it's like, so then it's like, okay, so what do we actually want to do? And then you start to learn the game, and it's like, okay, well, these businesses actually are more fun to run. Like, I'll give you an example, Mark. The first business that I really ever got started, I had some side projects, but the first real business was e-commerce. And we'd build our own brands and sell them on various platforms. Back then it was Living Social and Groupon and Amazon and all those. Well, turns out when you run an e-commerce business, you need ever expanding piles of cash to grow, because you have to have inventory. So it's like, well, that business wasn't the most fun because all the cash of the business is tied up in inventory. So it's like, well, I don't really want to do that again. So let's move on and let's look at, we started doing group consulting, and that was really fun because now, Mark, I can do one to many. I can teach a bunch of people at the same time, and then there's no hard cost. I can scale without having inventory to bog my cash down. So then you start to like just pick up on like, well, what would be a fun business to run? What business can actually scale with you? What business can push you to grow? Like, that's kind of what I start looking for. It's like you start to learn what kind of turns you on in life, and then you kind of gravitate towards what you're good at. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And you've kind of touched on what, Dylan has brought to the table, from your point of view. But Dylan, what is kind of your takeaways? Has it been, working with Seth and I guess being taken under his wings a little bit?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that I learned working with Seth is that we generally want to try to find opportunities where we can scale ourselves out of like the day to day on a lot of things. So just as an example, I was talking with Seth about this yesterday. Since I got my real estate license, I was like, man, this is not at all what I really signed up for. As far as like, I'm essentially working as an investment consultant, not getting paid until a transaction closes. And the transactions that do close, you don't really get paid that much anyways, because they're the lowest ticket transactions.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting to look at just transitioning to building a flipping business, because I was like, Seth, this isn't a very good dollar per hour return on my time at all. So I'll keep the license, but I'm probably going to help investors for like a flat fee, and then transition to flipping a lot of stuff, just because we can pay. Like I think Matt Hawkins, Lumberjack Landlord, he did a flip recently and showed people like the process of it, and like how much you can actually get as a return on your time for how little time you have invested in said flip. Well, I mean, that's generally the type of opportunities that we've looked for in the business space. So yeah, I may be transitioning from agent to just flipper sometime soon.
Yeah, the agent license is not what it's always cracked up to be, right? I mean, everyone is using it kind of for different purposes after a while. But starting a business and whatnot, if you were, when starting from scratch, Seth, I mean, what do you think might be the fastest path to a business that actually produces investable profits?
Yeah, that's really good. So typically it's going to be a service. Now, depending on your skill set, so you can just like boil it down, drive through your town, and Mark, you can do this. You'll start to see it if you haven't already. Just watch the businesses, interact with the businesses, and pay attention. So like, if I call a contractor in my town, hardly any of them answer. If I call a painter, if I call a plumber, they don't answer the phone. I have to leave a voicemail, which is crazy. I tried to get a survey, Mark, and I called there's 10 surveyors listed here on the government website, and 9 of them literally didn't answer. The one guy that did, I hired. None of the other ones called me back. Like, how terrible is that? But that's an opportunity, right? So it's like they have so much work that there's an opportunity to do something there. So it's like, we've started, like, you could start, if you have an online skill, you can start an agency very, very easily. Like the latest business that I'm running is just an agency where I can leverage the skills that I've already built. But like, as an example, like Dylan knew how to paint. He started a painting business before. Bang, makes double what the average person makes. Why? Because he saw the gap and says, okay, there's a service here that's not being fulfilled in my market. Let me just see. And then just by making the offer and getting in there and trying to do some work, makes tens of thousands of dollars per month. And that is just so amazing. And that opportunity is everywhere. Like, you can see it online, you can see it in your town. That's what I would be looking for, was where is the layup? So I came from basketball, Mark, and it's like, would I rather try to shoot a 3-pointer or go shoot the easy layup? And I'll just take the easy win every time. Does that make sense?
It does, but I don't see that in today's basketball now. Everyone wants to shoot further and further away, it seems like.
Well,
But
I would
yes,
shoot layups.
But there is, I think this is a question for Dylan, though, from Jason. I think, because Jason saw you talking about flipping now, Dylan, but he said, do you have the rehab team together already?
Well, that's the thing. We've been working on, because Seth bought, 5 houses in 4 months, and then we had to figure out everything to do with them. So
5
we
rehabs.
5 like full gut rehabs. So we put together a team to take care of all of those rehabs, and it was kind of like a test run to learn how to do the flipping side of the business. So since I joined, like on that side of the business and left the agency and just started helping Seth on his rehabs, we've gone through, we're on number 5 right now, and it's been about 4 months or so. So we went from like the first half of the year, like slowly progressing on these, to the last 4 months. We've just knocked out 5 houses. Like, we're getting close to knocking out 5 houses. I think we're going to be able to continue that, and it's helped us build systems around like what we need in place to do the renovations and the order of operations of everything like that. So yes, we do. But we've definitely been learning the hard way on some of this stuff.
Yeah. So Mark, just to kind of piggyback what Dylan's talking about there, it's like we don't have any full-time employees. Essentially, they're all contractors, and we've just had to sift and sort through, like, okay, who is a good painter, who is a good roofer, who can do plumbing, right? And we just, since we've done so many kind of in a short time frame, it's like, okay, well, we start to put together a Rolodex of, here's who we can really trust and lean on for A, B, and C. And then now Dylan can essentially just like attack a flip with the same processes that we've already figured out, all the same contacts. So we didn't start with the contacts. We kind of jumped in with both feet and then said, we'll figure this out as we go. So that's kind of where we're at, Mark.
I want to say good morning to, where's it? All Fire Up. Welcome, Bill. Thanks for tuning in. He's changed his handle name, I know, so I forget what it was before. But I see Yoder tuning in from Western New York, so good morning. And let's see, I also remind everyone, I put the links to all their contact, YouTube channels, Instagram, X, so go reach out to them if you want to know more information. But yeah, I guess, for like going back to being an entrepreneur, what is the number one mistake that you see that keeps entrepreneurs stuck in like a self-employed mode instead of maybe building a real business?
Oh, you mean, so like if you have a side hustle and to scale that into something a little bit more scalable?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of touched on it before. My son's mom, she kind of started a business. We were in Hawaii. She started a business in North Carolina, so she was trying to do it remotely. But I never saw her really get out of that almost like self-employed kind of phase where she was able to step away, and then it would kind of run on its own in a sense, right? She had to be hands-on, doing things daily and whatnot. So
yeah,
how do you see people transitioning to that, to actually creating a business in a sense?
Well, the first thing you have to do is not like, you can't wrap your identity up in the product. If you actually want to build a product, so it's like businessman and artist, right? An artist wants to paint the painting, and that's fine. Like, my father-in-law built a very successful excavating business, but he was the artist. He wanted to be running the machine, developing that skill, delivering the product, and that was what he wanted to do. if you want to build a business and scale up a little bit, you have to approach it totally differently. It can't be that you're the artist of the business. It's got to be like you see the business as the machine. So first of all, you have to break your identity from like I am the business to I own this business. And then like, it would have been very easy for me if I would have had a different perspective to say like, oh, Dylan, you can't do these things in my business because like that's my baby. I'm painting this painting. But really it was like, okay, Dylan, if you can actually help here, then you're part of this machine that can produce something. So I would say that's kind of like first step is like understanding that your business is not you, and like the results that it produces shouldn't be viewed as like your own self-worth. Like if you can nail that, then you can really start to think about it the right way. So you start to have to like hire somebody to kind of take your place. And then after you start hiring people, then the thing that people mess up is they don't build systems. So it's like if you've ever seen, like I just dealt with an HVAC company locally here, and it's like they're sending texts to the wrong places. They are showing up at the wrong times. They're not showing up at all. They don't remember the things that we've already talked about. It's like those systems have to be built because it has to be repeatable. So if you can break your identity from it, get somebody to do it, now you need to do it consistently. So you need a system, and a system could just be, hey, every day I follow up and make sure this is followed up with, or every day they have to, go through a checklist. And that's some of the stuff that actually Dylan helped us develop in our latest business, which was like, how do you proceduralize something and then hold people accountable to that? So Dylan, do you have any kind of tips for people to go from, I'm in the business to I'm working kind of on the system of the business?
Oh, that's difficult. I mean, I think the first thing that you really need to do is like document what you do every day and see if you can find somebody who you can pay to do said thing less than you would be charging yourself. So, for example, like with a painter, you could build a painting business by simply finding people you can pay $20 to $25 an hour to spray paint houses while you're charging, 50 plus per hour for the employees. So really just like document everything in the specific business that you're wanting to proceduralize, and then just go through step by step, like your day, and figuring out each thing that you're doing and seeing how you can just take yourself out of that and work more on the higher level things, if that makes sense.
So Mark, let me ask you, why do you think that it was your relative, right? Why did they get stuck?
Just her personality. I mean, she's a very, I would say she, micromanager in a sense, and it's difficult for her to maybe trust issues also, but it's very difficult for her to, um, you know, let other people do the job in a sense. And she did have a partner, but it was a struggle because she wants things done her way in a sense, and that's the hard part for certain people. I think like they want it done a certain way, and I get it. People want things done their way, but at the same time, for you to, like you're saying, get to freedom, or this kind of step away from the business itself, and you can do other projects. I think that is the obstacle a lot of people struggle with.
Was she passionate about the business that she was in? Like, so again, so it's like her identity was, if the product isn't up to my standards, then that means something bad about me. That's what I'm talking about. It's like her identity was wrapped in the result, and that's why she can't have you in there, Mark, because you're not going to do it how she would do it, and it's her identity. So you got to break those, or this is the shortcut to do that. Don't go into the business that is your passion. That's kind of counterintuitive, but if you follow your passion, now it's like it is wrapped in who you are. If you just say like, I'm going to start a painting company because I see an opportunity, now you can build a machine that funds your life and funds your passion. Does that help at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I forget who, I see it quite a bit on social media now, right? Like a lot of people are, they're saying follow your passion and whatnot, and there's a lot of other people kind of pushing back, like, that's like you want to find stuff that are going to be productive in a sense, and then you can do your passion stuff later once you're making yeah. Because but I do want to kind of self promote myself a little bit, but go check out my channel. There's a new video out today with Zach Shepard. He's a friend of Chris Webb, who's also a regular on the channel. So he's also in Virginia, young guy. He acquired 50 units this year, a lot of creative finance. But go check him out. He'll be on the channel live with me and Chris next week, Friday. But if you want to know more about Zach, go check out that episode. But let's see. Jason says, that's great. I may be interested in funding and buying some finished products from you folks. But he also mentions, why are you not rehabbing and holding and renting them?
So that's what we're doing at the moment. And I had shot back something about that, but we are doing that right now. The thing that we're trying to build is more of a machine that throws off cash flow, but then we can also keep the ones that we like. So, flip a few, keep one, flip a few, keep one. So we can pay for our lifestyle with the flipping business, but then we still get to acquire rentals as we go. Our end game is a lot of it is building up a commercial real estate portfolio. So, like buying more apartment buildings. So, if we use flipping to build up a bunch of cash that we can go then buy apartment buildings with to build that side of the business, eventually that side of the business is going to get big enough to where we don't really need to do the flipping side of the business anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Yoder says he has that same experience, Seth. I think what you're talking about of your identity being wrapped up in the business and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And Alex mentions, because Dylan responded, yes, we just need to generate some cash flow. And Alex is asking cash flow or capital?
Both.
So, Mark,
Uh,
that's to me, that's why like we have some of the agency businesses, the digital businesses, because they throw off so much cash. Like our net margins were 64% in that agency that Dylan and I were running, and like that's hard to get in a lot of businesses. But like if you have that business where I can sell, get the cash first, and then deliver the service after, now I have cash to operate with, and but not only that, I can buy real estate. And so like Dylan jumped into real estate full time, and the reason why he's gravitating towards flipping is because he's like, oh shoot, I do need some operating cash to be, putting stakes into deals and to have deal flow and all this stuff, right? So it's like, in my world, for where I've built businesses, it's just digital cash, and then I buy, real estate. And Dylan's just jumping in full force into real estate and saying, I'm gonna really master this one game, and that's beautiful. But he's like, oh shoot, I do need some cash. So it's kind of like a short-term band-aid for cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would like flipping was the last thing that I thought I would be doing. And then then I'm like, oh, well, fine. If this is like all in real estate, we can use those teams to renovate like our other things, or we can have them work on apartment buildings that we buy and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a roundabout way of getting to the exact same goal that I could have probably built more online businesses and done the same thing, but I wanted to jump into real estate, so I did full time. Yeah, I definitely can say that it was probably not the wisest decision at the time, but it is what it is.
Trust me, we've all done not the wisest things in our lives, I'm sure. But Hyder says, I got comfortable self-employed before I was uncomfortable being comfortable. Now I avoid comfort like it's college. Yeah, he was taking a jab at Dylan about attending college, I believe, earlier. Let's see. Flavio mentions those houses are fix and flip. Why not sell it as owner financing with a good down payment? A lot of people looking for owner financing. So you guys, that's something you guys are considering?
I would say no. If you were trying to build up a portfolio, so essentially, like how I would treat that style of the business is it's like if you've ever heard of people doing like the lease options or whatever, like we're essentially trying to get a down payment big enough to be able to go get another property if you're building that business. So you're building up a bunch of loans on the back end to build like a loan business essentially to generate a bunch of cash flow. What we're trying to do is just generate just straight cash from this to be able to go deploy that into the assets that we actually want to own. We don't want to have like a book of loans like that, at least not at the moment. Would you say you concur with that, Seth?
Yeah, I'm with you, Dylan. So, Mark, essentially, like I said, it's literally just financing like the bigger projects that we want to do. So that's kind of like how we approach it. What was a draw to me initially about real estate was I can essentially buy permanent income, is how I saw it. That doesn't require very much of my time. So now I can have dozens of units that are paying me every month, support my lifestyle, and then I can go out there and chase like higher margin activities, chase doing a bigger real estate deal. So we would never want to, I wouldn't want to put a contract on one of my properties because now I'm losing some of that permanent income that I'm using as my base income. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm not sure if Dylan has mentioned to you or is trying to convince you, but about attending the One Rental at a Time Vegas event in February. But Hyder did put the link to order your tickets. Like I think they were talking about it also on Zuber's weekly wrap up today. That I think once the Sub 2 or Paces community finds out that Pace Morby will be speaking for about $300 in Vegas, those tickets will probably sell out pretty quickly. So Pace Morby will be speaking in the school community on Sunday, and Zuber said that video is going to go out after that on YouTube. So once that goes out, I believe the tickets will pick up. We got, let's see who else is here. Hey, Sarah Garrett is tuning in. Yeah, I'm not. Sarah spoke at last year's year 2 event. She's doing amazing things in Georgia. Her and the husband are in the military. They've used their VA loan. I believe they're on their way to 5 paid off properties, I believe. But
Nice.
right now, football has them all tied up. Their son is maybe a 5-star college recruit, possibly. Yeah, for football. So it's taking up a lot of their time right now. Let's see here. I guess there's no other question. So we can go to a big question I want to ask you, and I think Zuber talks about it quite a bit too, is what's your thoughts, Seth, on do you think everyone could be an entrepreneur? Everyone have that in them?
I mean, I think it's just a skill set that you could learn, but like I don't think a lot of people actually want the reality of it. So I think honestly, Mark, most people would have a better life working for somebody else and giving them that stress, because it is a lot of stress. Like you own the show, which means like you sign both sides of the check essentially. Like you're writing a check to pay yourself, and it's like your business has to cash that check if you're going to live. And so that gets really stressful. So it's like for years when I first started, I was very much stressed, worked every day of the week, and it was like required, because you don't know what you don't know, and you got to get in there and you got to figure it out. And like you asked me, would I start a different business today than my first business? Absolutely. But guess what business I didn't start a very good business the very first time, right? So it's like you just have to learn so much, and there's so many skills you don't have, and there's so many contacts you don't have, and nobody trusts you, and you don't have any money. So it's like it's really hard. But from what I've seen, if you want to just generate some extra cash and slowly turn it into a business, like I love Dylan's painting example. Like he literally fired up a painting business almost overnight and had thousands and thousands of dollars worth of contracts. That is a great business that you can get into, and it's not going to stress you out. It's not going to kill you as long as you kind of build it slowly on the side. So something like that, I think, could really help people supplement their cash. I think you can make thousands and thousands of extra dollars every month, tens of thousands of dollars extra month, just by kind of using some of the skills that you may not even realize that you have. But to jump in full time as an entrepreneur, I think you really got to want it. And I don't know, I don't think everybody wants it. Probably the people on this show listening probably want it. So, let's all be crazy together.
Absolutely love that. Let's see. There is some questions now. Yes, Flavio is mentioning if people haven't heard, because I hit 1,000 subscribers, I want to give back to the people that subscribe and follow me. But Monday, I will be giving away a VIP ticket to the event. We're going to be live streaming. Curtis and Ray will be on, help me give out the tickets. But also, the school community, the Monday Accountability Group, is donating a general admission ticket. So there'll be a couple of tickets given away on the Monday live stream. We'll be giving away some of Frank's One Rental at a Time shirts, some of Dion's books. But everyone tune in Monday if you are available and maybe hope to win a ticket. But let's see. Alex does say, you guys are in growth mode and generating capital. I'm not sure if that's okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's a question really, but you guys have anything touch on that or?
Absolutely. Eventually I think there will be a time where I don't own, besides my primary residence, no residential real estate. So Seth may have a different opinion on this. I know he loves his houses, but we're in the process of just building a machine to be able to buy more commercial real estate. That's really my end goal, is to build something big that's bigger than us. Like I want to be able to build like essentially a family office where we have we can have multiple people we know be management and maintenance people and stuff like that, and just own something here in central Indiana. But to do that, I can't have hundreds of houses spread all over like different places in Indy. So it's going to have to end up getting rolled up into 20 unit buildings, 50 unit buildings, and so on. So definitely in growth mode, especially as we're starting to look at doing a fund to buy bigger properties.
Let's see. Alex also mentions when you transition to long-term hold and cash flow, you've reached the harvest phase. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, Josh Burdick is tuning in from Spokane. No, Alex, I will not be giving away a 49ers jersey. I will lose followers. I'm a Bears fan, so I don't know. I don't know if you. I'm a Chicago Bears fan, but Alex is playing in our fantasy football league. But let's see. Alex needs a Frank shirt. Okay, well, you better tune in Monday then, Alex. But let's see here. Let's see, Seth. What is your rule for knowing when it's time to hire and help remove yourself from day-to-day operations?
Well, Mark, I don't want to be doing it. If I don't want to be doing it, then I'm just going to try to find somebody to move along, right? So it's like for me, these businesses have been self-funded, bootstrapped. I'm building them from the ground up, scratch every time. So it's like if you're trying to build a business, what I would do is hire somebody that's really smart in the area that you need help in, or if you have to figure it all on your own, then it might take you a little bit longer, but eventually you're not gonna be able to, like the business that we have now, Mark, is a copywriting business. It's essentially a ghostwriting agencies for email marketing. Now, email marketing is this beautiful business because I can send one message and it can hit 100 people or it can hit 1,000,000 people. So it has this tremendous scale opportunity. But I don't want to be the guy writing the copy every day, making sure that everything's scheduled, making sure that the client's happy, likes the copy, right? So it's like you as you start to get more clients, to start to get more business, you literally can't even handle that, and I don't want to be doing that. It's not my identity. I'm not the artist. I don't have to have my name on every single piece of work. Somebody said that in the comments. It's like, I don't have to be the guy, the hero. I don't want to be the hero. I just want to be the owner. So so that's my take on it.
Something I can compare that to is like I know a local guy that owns an AC business, and he's only got one other guy that works for him, but they are busy. Like you need to like call them and schedule way ahead of time to get them to come do something because they're so busy. And trying to convince this guy to just hire somebody else and not do the work himself and just sit in the office and work on getting more contracts, it's a non-starter, but he could be so much more successful if he would just step back. And I think that's when you would start to hire yourself out of the situation. But hiring somebody else, I would say if you can't, not double the work, but hiring somebody else should triple the amount of revenue that you guys are able to generate together. Because like in a situation like Seth and I, we have very different skills. So us working together is not just 1 + 1 is 2. It's usually 3 or more. And that's why we work well together. I'm usually ops and he's marketing and sales. So
Let's see. Hey, morning. Good morning. Invest to Wealth. Thanks for stopping by. Hyder says he's a LA Kings fan. Pucks first is greater than pigskins. Yes, Hyder. I think Seth is. So is basketball your sport? Is that?
Basketball is my sport, Mark. So I'm not going to fight you on football.
No,
Unless,
no, no. I mean, I
I
like.
used to like Peyton Manning days here in Indy, but ever since then I've kind of lost my gusto for football.
So you're a Pacers fan or?
Yeah, the Pacers had a good run. I don't know if you followed that at all this year.
No, I love Halliburton is one of my favorite players.
He's always got a smile, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's always dinged up too for some reason. But
Yeah.
but he's a great player. I love him.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sarah Garrett says, Dylan, you guys are motivating me today. Sarah says 100%. I like to work in the background. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Dylan, did you like Cancun to invest there? Flavio's asking.
I didn't understand the area enough, but so the area I went to, it was on Playa Mujeres. So essentially, like there is a gate that you have to go through, and only certain taxis are able to get through there if they have like this federal ID or something like that. That's like where all the resorts are, though. It's not like something special. Like there's just like 10 or 12 resorts behind this like fenced in area that's like guarded. That being said, I really liked just like Maine, Cancun. I don't know if I'd invest there because I just didn't really analyze the market for that. I was trying to unplug completely from like real estate and everything when I was there and just like enjoy being there. I did get to check out Isla Mujeres, which was really cool. This nice island, and we got to go snorkeling next, like in some of the coral reefs and stuff. I did get like really, really bad sunburns while I was there though. So I'm still dealing with those right now. And that's
man,
that's 2 point something weeks later. Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. Let's see now. Okay. Oh yeah. Good morning, Joe V. Joe V's tuning in. He is one of the leaders of the Monday accountability group. So yeah. So Dylan's also part of the Saturday Gen Z accountability group. So if anyone, go find what time works out for you. Go check out the accountability groups. A lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff going on there. Actually, there's the out of state investing is going on right now. So some of you, I'm sure, probably bouncing back and forth. Let's see, Seth. Well, once the business is making money, how much should go back into growth versus being invested into income-producing assets?
yeah. Well, that's kind of the crux of what we were talking about earlier. Was like in an inventory business, an e-com business, a physical products business, you got to put almost all the money back in, and that's why I don't like it, because it doesn't spit off much cash flow. And so if I have to take all my cash that I generated this month to buy more inventory so I can grow or even maintain, it's not a very good business, because you can't really live off of it. You can't invest it. You can't do anything besides grow the inventory pile, which you're selling out of, which kind of stinks. So it really depends on what kind of business that you're in. If you are in a service business, and that's why I say most people should start there, you don't really have a lot of cash needs. The cash needs might be, as long as you structure your offers correctly. Like some people mess up and they're like, I'll do this work now and I'll get paid later. And then you have to front all the supplies and front the labor. And that's not a very good offer structure for your business. But if you can structure your offer where you're getting most of the money up front and then pay for delivery after the fact, like you won't really have to reinvest a lot of cash. And that's what's beautiful, Mark, is I can take that cash I'm generating today and literally put it into real estate tomorrow. And then I can buy my way to financial freedom. And, my version of that is just buying enough real estate to pay for my lifestyle. So when Dylan says we don't really have the same viewpoint on it, well, it's kind of true, but I view them differently. I would view like a commercial business as a business that I own. I would view these homes that I've bought over the years as like my stable permanent income. So it's like I'm 100% always going to have my lifestyle paid for by these homes that I own. And then I can build a commercial real estate business, maybe a fund, raise money over here. That's completely different. So maybe that's like a good distinction to talk about, Mark.
I love that. Josh said, I agree with Dylan, but it's easier said than done to hire someone to take over your position. Customer service, competency works well with others, etc. Good people come and go.
Yeah,
Yep.
very hard to find somebody that's good, to be completely honest. I think another part of that is just not always expecting everything to be perfect. Like if you can find somebody that is like, I would rather have somebody that's a really hard worker, but I can train them to do the things that I need them to do over somebody that just walks in really competent, especially for most of the businesses that we're looking at starting. Like these aren't like high level things where they need to be managing dozens and dozens of people. It's like, hey, I'm going to show you how to use this paint sprayer, and this is how we go up and down on the walls, and like this is how we do it. Then we, we'll paint one layer, and then 4 hours later we'll paint another layer or something like that. Like, it just depends. As the complexity of your business gets harder and harder, yes, finding somebody really good is very difficult.
Well, so Dylan, I'll add some color there for you. Recruiting is a skill, and hiring is a skill as well. So once you've done it more times, like you start to understand, like, okay, well, Dylan actually is an A player, but the guy that I thought was an A player is actually a C, and he doesn't really pay attention very well, and he needs a little bit more training. And that's fine, but like, so Josh, a lower paid staff member might just need more training. Like maybe you have a system flaw where you didn't train them enough, or maybe this is a huge one, Mark. Maybe you just incentivize them wrong. If you don't get your incentives right, incentives drive almost everything. So it's like you want to align the goal of your employee with the goal that you actually have for their role. And sometimes those aren't connected. So it's like if I'm going to hire a painter to work for my painting business, I would want to incentivize them to not only get the job done quickly, but also to get the job done well. So that way the customer's happy. So you have to be thinking about all these things. Like maybe it wasn't that the people that you recruited were bad, maybe that you had a system that failed them, or maybe management wasn't there consistently, or there's just all these variables. Like if you just keep leveling up your skills, you can turn somebody into a really good asset. You can turn recruiting into an asset by doing it better. You can turn losing situations into winning situations by having a better system. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to a Chick-fil-A before, but for some reason they can get these people that are high school students to do a heck of a lot better job than they can at McDonald's, right? So it's like their system for recruiting and training and managing is just better, right? So it's like it wasn't the people. They are hiring out of the same talent pool. They just did a better job. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, so my son's mom, like I said, she's from North Carolina. So yeah, I've been to Chick-fil-A and I love it. But the funny thing is, ever since it's opened up in Hawaii, I've never been to the Hawaii Chick-fil-A. So it was like, yes, it's such a thing in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I go there and I love it. And then it's in Hawaii now, and I've never been there once to the Hawaii locations. But Flavio says, Seth, what do you recommend to newbies investors like me?
Yeah.
I don't think
So
Flavio's a newbie.
Yeah, he's a sleeper. He doesn't like to. He likes to make like he's a newbie, but he's a seasoned. He's like a little ninja. That guy.
a little ninja.
Yeah.
Oh, Flavio. Well, that's funny. So, to take a newbie perspective, like I said, you have to kind of start out with your goal. So, what's your goal? Mine was get to financial freedom. I knew that if I can make 15% of my money a year, I'm going to double it every 5 years. That stacks up pretty quick. I'm measuring cash flow and I'm measuring return on my investment, and I'm looking for doubles as fast as I can get them. So, I have always taken the approach of I'm going to buy a good deal and I'm going to make it into a better deal. So almost every single house that I've ever bought has needed some form of rehab. Um, I don't mind to do that. Most houses that I've bought, when I walk into them, most people would not move into them. They smell bad, they look bad. It's not a fun place to be when I first get a hold of them. But $30,000 worth of rehab later, now I have something that I can rent for a significant amount of rent compared to my all-in investment. So I don't typically buy off-the-shelf, ready-to-go deals. I'm buying something that needs rehab because I can find more value in it. So I'm looking for high returns on cash, and I'm looking for, how can I make this into a bigger equity gain for me? So then I have equity to play with, maybe in the form of a refinance. So then I can take that cash and buy more cash flow. Mark, but I'm to the point now where I'm not really as aggressively buying homes. I'm looking at, I have my financials kind of secured. Let's go and actually build an investment business that we're doing this on a little bit larger scale. So it's kind of a little bit different of a mentality. So Flavio maybe set me up for a newbie question, but maybe he has some more advanced ones hidden.
That's how he works. But Brandon is tuning in from Instagram. He says, "Yes, I like your ideas. Have the cash flow from real estate. Start a business." So all good points. Let's see. Yeah, Sarah Garrett. So I don't know. Maybe is there any military background for you, Seth?
No, it's just my haircut, I think.
Well, Sarah Garrett says, "I love this guy's thinking process. This is how the army used to be." And yes, Sarah. So Sarah used to be in Hawaii while she was stationed here for a while, but she's like, "You got to be kidding me! Oahu finally got a Chick-fil-A, and yes, they're opening their third one soon." So, All Nighter Hider says incentives are critical to training someone. They must desire the training. Yes.
I think that's the same reason why if you look at well, I mean, the military has this, but like a lot of tech companies too, like they have these tier levels of like you get paid this much if you have these skills. So if you want to make more money, which everybody does, well, at least I would say most people do, especially when you're younger trying to get started, you're going to want to ascend up this skill ladder that they put in front of you to say, oh, well, somebody at this level at Meta makes this much money. And then if you want to be remote, you have to be at least I think it's like a level 5 at Meta to be able to go remote. So, I mean, yeah, they just set the incentives right in front of you. Like, if you want to do these things and make this much money, this is what we have to do to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And different people have different incentives. Seth is better at speaking on this. This is more of his specialty. So if you want to.
Well, we can talk about it a little bit. So, Mark, there's an old story, and I think it was FedEx or whatever. They were really struggling to get either planes or trucks unloaded on time. Have you heard the story? So it's like FedEx really was having a hard time motivating their staff. They said, get it done faster or else, right? And we'll pay you a bonus or whatever it was. And then they could not get these, we'll call them planes. I don't know if it was trucks or planes, but couldn't get them unloaded on time. And eventually they said, well, shoot, this is just an incentive problem. We said, and then they just said, you're going to get paid the same. As soon as they're done, you can go home. And lo and behold, the trucks are unloaded faster than ever because the incentives were right. They were hustling to get their time back, and they were getting paid more per hour. And FedEx was happy because they got them done on schedule. So if you get incentives right, now you can get a lot more stuff done. So typically, like an incentive structure would be a paired metric. And we mentioned the painting business, so I'll stay there. I would want to pair a metric. I want to pair metrics that are typically around speed and then around quality. So like in a painting business, I would say, okay, so I'm going to pay you X dollars per hour, or I'm going to pay you X dollars per job, and I expect it to be done in this time frame. So that's speed. And then my paired metric would be, but I also care about quality. So if the customer calls us back and we have to do touch-ups, now you have to go on your own time and do it out of your own pocket. Or if the customer gives us a negative review, now you get a negative bonus, right? So, or if the customer rates you 5 stars, you get a positive bonus. So it's like you want to pair these speed and quality metrics, and you can do that on almost any role. So you can do it in customer service. How many tickets did you answer? How many times did somebody have to ask follow-up questions about that ticket that you answered? So there's all kinds of different ways to think about that, but you want to be pairing incentives to what is your end goal with that role, and then what do we actually want to achieve, and then how can we make it important to our employee. If you can nail that, then you'll be amazed at how much more productive your staff is.
All Nighter Hider says, great FedEx story. Yeah. Hyder also says, while with Simon, the uneducated economist, he saw an In-N-Out being built outside Portland, about an hour away from Simon's house. They were excited about it. Yeah, no In-N-Out burger yet in Hawaii, though. Let's see. Yeah, Sarah Garrett is still tripping out that there's 3 Chick-fil-A's pretty soon on Oahu. She also says, Dylan, 100%. That is exactly how the Army works. It's like a prescribed system for success. You kind of touched on a little bit earlier, Seth, about kind of like lifestyle creep, why you're doing this. But how do you protect yourself from that? Investing profits instead of spending them.
Well, Mark, fortunately for me, I've always been, some call it cheap, I say frugal, but I'm working my way up, right? I just don't want too many things, I think is a good one. Like I just am happy just going to the gym, working a little bit and spending time with the family. I don't need to have everybody thinking I'm cool with the latest gizmos or whatever it is, So I don't need the $50,000 watch so people think I'm cool. So it's like, it's not really hard to control your lifestyle when you don't really feel like you need it. Now, others might say, well, I've talked to Dylan about this before. It's like, okay, so why are you making this purchase? And he's like, oh, well, maybe I was making it for a different reason. It's like, okay, so do you actually want it? Well, no. So then maybe that is a useful frame. It's like, do I want this for me, or do I want it because what I think other people will think about me? And if you can just ask yourself the question before you make the purchase, I think you'll eliminate a lot of them. So for me, Mark, it's easy, but maybe I'm weird.
Yeah, like we know of people that if they don't live in a certain zip code in a neighborhood, and if they don't drive what is the better one, Seth, a C or an E class for Mercedes?
I don't know.
I don't even know. Whichever one. They can't have the base model. They got to have the one that's been tricked out with everything, because when they go meet with the other moms or whatever at an event, like they have to have the best thing. Yeah, we just don't have that opinion. Generally, what I always say is I care more about the freedom to be able to go do things over having the things that hold me back from having the freedom. So we prefer assets over just buying like nice cars and watches and stuff that doesn't bring us very much joy. We just like the game, I guess.
Ike is tuning in. He says, Augusta Lawn Care has great content on this topic, mostly focused on lawn care service, but carries over well, incentivizing employee with profit share instead of just hourly pay.
Yeah.
And Ike also adds in, also his rule is you get about 80% from an employee of what you would do yourself. Something to keep in mind.
That's a great
Uh,
point.
Josh Burdick says, frugal is my second favorite F word.
Be curious on the first one. Is it
Yeah.
Josh? Is the first one
Yes,
Josh?
Josh. Yeah. Uh, Sarah Garrett also says, yes, that's always been my superpower. I'm very simple. Don't like a lot of stuff at all. I believe this is why Keith and I have had so much success. Yeah. So part of Sarah's presentation at the Vegas event or this year actually was kind of, how it was kind of a rice and beans kind of, just really cutting back on certain things
Hmm.
they may eat and whatnot, but that's what's got them on their way to, like I said, I believe 5 paid off properties. Sarah Garrett says C class is the cheap one, S class
Oh,
is the expensive one.
see, I don't even know.
Soldiers like to buy those cars and look successful. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, I've heard the Mustangs too are like really popular for the same thing. Or like what is the one that your cousin has, Seth? Like
Oh,
granted he
Porsche.
does have a very awesome business, but
Yeah,
the
that's not really
Hellcat or
much of a
whatever.
splurge for him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like buying the car of the year or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
It's kind of been what we've been touching on this whole episode. But Thatch Gwynn was also speaking live in the school community yesterday, and it was kind of Zuber wanted to touch on one of Thatch's recent Instagram posts about pretty much he doesn't kind of know who needs to hear this, but if you're not investing, part of your income into assets and income producing assets, you're just setting yourself up to working until you die, basically. So you kind of share that thought a little bit, Seth?
Yeah, for sure. So I like that, and I've seen some of his content over the years, and I totally agree. He really hammers on flippers because flippers is just building a business, but you have to take some of that active income and convert it into passive, right? So it's like, and I've already mentioned it. Thatch and I agree. You take what you can and you buy permanent income. You buy that more passive income, so then you're free and you get your time back, and then you can work on whatever it is that you want. So it just so happened for me, Mark, that building a business was the fastest way to produce the cash. Like I went out there and got a pretty good job. I worked for Simon Property Group. They were I think they still are the largest mall operator in the United States, maybe the world. They operate all the shopping malls. And I was doing pretty well there. But when I started my own business, I like tripled my salary year one. And it's just because like you own the show. When I'm sitting in the cubicle for Simon, they're making multiples on my efforts than I could do on my own. So then I step out into my own world where I own the entire process, and I start to get some of that back. Even though it's a lot of hard work, that's what was the accelerant for me. So it's like, even though I'm jumping into this entrepreneurship game, learning a lot, I know that if tomorrow I don't want to work, if I can buy those more passive cash flowing assets, then I don't really have to, and I get that flexibility. So I agree with Thatch on that.
Flavio's asking, Seth, do you have any kids? If yes, so what do you think about helping them with credit building at a young age?
Yeah, Flavio, I do have two children. I don't mind the idea of credit building. What I've been doing, I haven't really been helping them with credit because they're pretty young, but I have helped them understand how to think about the world in a way that like normal school would not. Like I've had them in the basements of these homes that we've purchased, into the rehabs, showing them like here's the service we're providing to our community. We're giving people places to live, and here's why they pay us, and here's why you should be thinking along these lines. That education is dramatically different than what they're going to hear at college, in high school, anything like that. So giving them the frame of the investor, the frame of the business person, sets up their life in a completely different way. So credit's awesome, but I would say the right frame of life is even more important.
We do have Dion Talk Financial Freedom stopping by. So good morning, Dion. If anyone hasn't yet, his book is a top seller already. So there's the link on Amazon to go pick up his book. But also, Dion did come out with a video. Beware of scammers. So there's people already scamming on the success of Dion's top selling books. So make sure you purchase the right one and don't get scammed out there. And Zuber also mentioned in his weekly wrap up today that he got caught up in a little scam. So he lost some money on some scammers recently. So they are out there. So be aware. But there is the link for the Dion's book on Amazon. So go pick it up if you haven't yet. Bill, all fired up, says, when people ask why I am in rental stuff, I tell them that we are at the mercy of company leadership or the lack of leadership.
Absolutely. And the mercy of whatever time constraints they want to put on your life.
Absolutely. Do you, so that would be my next question. Do you believe, most people, I mean, I think a lot of people tuning in here are realizing they need maybe a extra source of income or another source of income, but do you think a lot of people will be late to act by the time they realize they need maybe additional income streams?
Well, I don't know, Mark. I can't really answer that because I was passionate about it early, man. I think I had enough cash saved up by the time I was 17 years old to put down half the money needed to buy a rental house with my parents. They decided they were going to buy a rental house, and I said, "Hey, I've got money. I want to be in that deal." And they said, "Okay." So I'm 17, putting down thousands of dollars that I had saved up to do that. So I was in the game early, man. I don't know about getting there late. I'd say most people need to just think about what they want in life, think about their goals, think about, like, if you don't mind going to work and working there for 40 years, then okay. Like, it doesn't, like, the conversation doesn't have to go beyond that. But if you are like, hey, I want to own my time, I want to be able to take off on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. to go to the pool, then you got to do a different thing, you know? And for me, it was worth the sacrifice to do it. So starting the side hustle, building an extra $5,000 or $10,000 a month that you can invest and buy rentals, working a little bit harder at your job. I mean, Mark, you can get promoted pretty quick at a job because it doesn't take much. Like, the average bar, I would say, is average. So if you can go a little bit above average, you're gonna rise, right? So it's like you can get better results just by a little bit more effort, whether you're putting that into your job or you're putting that in on the side. Just kind of like, what do you want your life to look like, and just head down that path.
I love that. I want to remind everyone, if you haven't yet, there's Dylan's YouTube channel, Seth's YouTube channel, Instagram page. So if you want to connect with Seth, reach out to him. Yeah, I'll put his email also in the chat. And like I said, so what I know, like I said, I went to your profile, your web page, but it's talking about, do you want to grow your business? So what can people expect if they sign up or they register there?
Which side are you on there, Mark?
It's on the Seth. It's from your X profile. So I went to
Oh, okay. So so SethDStevens.com is my homepage. I've literally just taken everything that I've learned and put it into like a weekly email. So it's like, I don't have anything to sell you unless you're trying to grow an online business and you need help getting leads. That's all that I do. But the rest of it is literally just like, here's how you think about structuring an offer. Here's how you think about getting into the right business. Here's how you think about growth and getting customers. So, like, literally just like took those, I guess about a decade now worth of building businesses, three completely different multi-million-dollar businesses, and took all the lessons that I've gotten from there, and then I just send them out in an email. So I think the first one that I send out is like, how do you increase your revenue? So, like, let's imagine, Mark, you have a side hustle. Like, the first thing that is important to you is, well, let's just grow sales, let's grow revenue, let's grow profitability, and we talk about ways to structure your offer so that you can just close more sales, attract more customers. So it's like all about growing your business. And then I do have a few emails that go out here and there sprinkled in with some real estate stuff, which is fun. But mainly from my perspective, most people can get investing right if they hang around the right people like you. They just need more income to do it. So, what I try to share is the things that have helped me grow my income faster.
Seth, at that, I do want to mention that one thing we do see a lot of people do with investing in our business is different for this specific reason. So a lot of people will do like the Burr model and they'll try to recycle the capital a ton, but then they end up with a bunch of properties that have really high loan to value. So they don't cash flow very much. So any problem that comes up is a big problem across the portfolio. Whereas what we're talking about is if you grow something that is a business that throws off a lot of cash, you're able to put down an adequate amount of capital on every property instead of having to constantly recycle capital. so you don't put yourself in the same situations that a lot of these people can find themselves in, that are constantly burrowing and going to the maximum LTV that they can.
Great point, Dylan. So I didn't mention that, Mark, but every single home that I bought was purchased with cash. No debt at all until I started buying commercial property with Dylan. And it's like, so I'm literally just using the businesses and taking the cash and buying financial freedom directly, not even using any bank money. And some people say, well, that's kind of silly because your returns are smaller, but that wasn't my goal. My goal was buy permanent income at a good rate that pays for my lifestyle with very minimal risk. Now I don't have to worry about that. Now we can go a little bit more aggressive building some commercial assets and things like that. So a little bit different take, but this is my world.
I love that. I think so. On Sarah Garrett's point, she says we need to get Dylan and Seth to be speakers at the ORAD event. So I think some people are confused too when they hear. So Zuber has mentioned Dylan is opening on Sunday as the speaker. That
It's
is
not
a
me.
that is a different Dylan, a young Dylan also, but that is a different Dylan that is opening up the Sunday event. But yes, I do agree. Dylan and Seth will be great speakers at the event. But I think what you just touched on, Seth, is really where Sarah Garrett kind of is right now in her kind of journey. So she, like I said, she's on her way to, like I said, I keep saying it could be 4, could be but 5 paid off homes. But she's in that phase now of trying to figure out how to leverage it for almost like generational wealth building for the kids also. So she's trying to determine, because she's always been adverse to debt, like she mentioned in her presentation, growing up poor, so she was always on that risk adverse side. So she's kind of in that transition, trying to figure out how to leverage things safely but to build this generational wealth. Hyder, thanks for stopping by. So what's your thought on debt, like financing and whatnot? So maybe Sarah can kind of pick your brain on that, I guess, in a sense. Do you I know you said you bought all cash, but what's your stance on that?
My stance is you gotta have a really good deal to be worthy of debt. I'm not gonna borrow money at 6 and get an 8 return, right? So it's like it's got to be a really good deal. So and it better be a cinch too. Typically, I just don't even like debt, but when you're buying some of these bigger deals, you have to, and you get some benefits out of debt. You can grow a lot faster. But for me, I'm treating commercial business real estate as a business, and I'm treating my financial security for my family as a safe kind of refuge, right? It's like this is my foundation, so I don't need debt on my foundation. I don't need something leaning on my foundation. So my foundation pays everything for me, and then I can be a little bit more aggressive on the other side. But I'm not going to take on debt just to try to get there a little bit faster. I don't hate my life that much, Mark. I can sustain a couple more years.
All right, so we've been going for about an hour, so it's a great episode. I'm not sure if you do have to run, Seth, but like I said, if you do have to bounce, just let us know. But Dion is at, Sarah wants to clarify it's 4, so I keep saying 5, but it's 4 paid off properties they're on the way to. But Dion mentions, how long did it take to grow a business to where you could buy real estate all cash? He says, also outstanding job.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think I started my business in 2000. Yep, I was full-time in that business in 2014, and I bought besides the one I bought with my parents when I was 17 years old, it took me 4 years, I guess. Took me 4 years of really working at it to buy my first rental property cash. But Mark, it sure stacks up quick. I think I have 27 units now from 2018 till now. So it's like you can move quickly once you kind of get a snowball. So every month that rent piles up, right? And now I have business income piling up too, and then I buy the next one, and then that income starts to pile up. So it starts to move quick once you get in the game and get going. So that's why I'm such a big proponent of build a skill, leverage the skill, use online to either market your business or to deliver your business. And I mean, I don't know what you're doing over here, Mark, but you have an audience here, right? And so you have scale leverage, and the same thing can be said about these businesses that you guys can build on the side and help kind of fund your way to financial freedom.
Yes. So let's see. Sarah Garrett says yes. Scared. I'm scared to go into commercial. She says high monthly income with all paid for homes. Want to work up the courage to jump into commercial. It's why I collaborate with y'all. Well, Sarah, we love that you tune in and yeah, hopefully, maybe Seth and you can jump on a call and he could help you down that path of jumping into some commercials things. Josh Burdick says, I like a happy medium, put a good chunk down since I'm closer to retirement, but I like Dion's points on the positives of financing. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I can find your happy medium here because we did that on our 12plex. So essentially, what we do is we try to buy deals at a good enough point with enough value add to where we're generating a serious amount of equity gain on the back end and cash flow at that, because we're buying assets that are cash flowing as is, and we're just renovating the properties, adding value, and then getting the rents to a point where it's just like the property is just worth significantly more. Like, for example, on our property, we bought it for around 800. We put about 100 worth of work into it. It's worth 1.14 now, and the DSCR is like a 2. So essentially, we could have half of our units vacant plus some, and we would still be able to service all of our debt. So our property value at that is at a 50% loan to value. So we're buying things. We start off with like a 25% loan to value, but we grow it to like a 50% loan to value. And that I have found is a really safe place to be for us, because we get to take advantage of the depreciation benefits, but then we still get to have a high amount of cash flow, and we put a credit line on it. So if we really, really need the money because we find a slam dunk deal, we can use the money and then just pay it back.
Dylan, I think what you mentioned there is something that maybe you should expand upon, but it's like, I don't know if the average investor buys deals like we do. Like, we're only buying value add for the most part. Like, we're not really buying things that don't have room for equity gain through value add. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So whether you're buying a house, I know people in here have definitely bought like some houses that are less than desirable and had to work on it. But we found that we we're able to buy commercial properties and get the same kind of deals we're getting on these, like, quote unquote, say it's like a hoarder house. So we get a house that somebody doesn't even want to put on market because it's just so filled full of trash. They don't want to list it with an agent. Well, we find similar things on the commercial real estate side, where there's a landlord that just hasn't taken care of their property. I don't want to say slumlord, but they just haven't been doing all of the things because it's not something they focus on, and they don't want to mess with listing it with a commercial broker or anything like that. So we can come in and buy that deal. And instead of doing it with one house, where we've proved that we can do that time and time again, buy something for 60 to 80, put 30 into it, and it's worth 160. Well, why don't we just do that with 12 at once? And then we buy it for like 800, put 100 into it, put maybe even 200 into it, worth 1.2, 1.3. Yeah, it's essentially just taking a skill that we developed and then just leveraging it even more with commercial real estate, which I found is really, really where I think we're going to see the most growth long term.
Yeah, Hyder makes a great point. Margin is a must. And Frank, old guy REI, we were talking about you earlier. So yes, I think, like I said, Monday, we'll be giving away a VIP ticket, a general admission ticket. We're also going to be giving away some of the shirts that Frank is selling, trying to donate money to the Blind Center. But he says Sarah is amazing. It's nice when you've been in it for a while and realize how many more options you have after a few years. And Sarah says, with all of our paid for rentals and other sources of income, I like to deploy it into cash rentals. We'd have about 8 sources of income. Yeah.
That's stellar.
Yeah. Like I said, she was a great presentation. I agree. Hopefully, Dylan and Seth will be on stage at one of the upcoming ORAD events,
Dylan
maybe.
up there. Yeah.
And hopefully we have a good turnout this year. Hopefully Zuber gets that fire back. He says, hopefully he gets to 100 ticket sales by the end of August, because right now he's on the fence of having another year 4 event. So right now he's kind of back and forth on it. He's kind of at that point where it's a lot of work to get these things going. So
Yep.
when he doesn't see the tickets selling right away, I think it kind of frustrates him a little bit. Do you think there's any chance you'll be attending in February, Seth? Or, I mean, is there a chance
Well,
you'll be in Vegas?
Dylan, is this the event that you went to last year?
Yeah, it was super
Yeah,
fun.
this
It was in
is the
Vegas.
one, and Mark, he probably already told you, but like this is the event that he came back and he said, "I'm going full-time real estate." Like this was the catalyst. So
Really? Okay. He's never said that to us, really. I know he had
Yeah.
a great time there.
oh man, he had a great time, and he came back just totally on fire. So I know you guys put on a great event, so that's amazing. Man, for the last I don't even know so many years I've been traveling so much, and I'm just like, I don't want to travel right now. So unless it's for pleasure, probably not going to be traveling. So I might not see you there, but you never know.
All right. Well, like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it would just wrap things up with the last few. It says, Frank says, Sarah, I'm with you. Commercial may be scary, but getting into residential was scary too. Yeah, great point. Yeah. All fired up, Bill. Yes, 11 a.m. Eastern on Monday. Curtis and Ray will be joining me to help me figure out how to give away these tickets and prizes for showing my thanks to those helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. So, hey, Alex, thanks for the super chat. He said, $4.99 super chat. He said, I appreciate that you get to know everyone and their stories. The way you connect with them and bring them on your channel is first class. Well, thanks, Alex. Like I said, I did drop a new video today with a new investor, Zach Shepard. He's in Virginia. It's a friend of Chris Webb, Invest LYH. So go check out his amazing story. He acquired 50 units this year. He's trying to get to 100. But he will be also on the live stream next week, Friday. Hey, Charles is tuning in. Jason, let's see. Yeah, so you guys have any final words? Seth, I know I did put a bunch of your links. Is there a certain place though that probably the best for someone to reach out to? Is it your email? Is there a certain like Instagram, X?
Yep. I think I appreciate that, Mark. So if you guys go to Seth D as in David and then Stevens.com, you can drop that in there if you don't mind, Mark. SethDStevens.com. If you put your email in there, I'll send you an email and just kind of ask you what you're working on, and then I literally reply to everybody. So if you're working on a painting business or you're working on your contracting business and you just have questions that you think I can help with, then I'll prompt you in there and you can just reply directly to me, and I'll try to give you some advice, and maybe it's useful. I have nothing really to sell you, like I said, unless you're running a digital agency where you need more leads, which I doubt that you are. So reach out. I'd love to hear from you guys. I love networking with other investors and people that kind of see the same world that I do, which is we don't have to be stuck in a factory for 44 years like my dad. So finding financial freedom has always been a passion of mine, and I just love the whole world. So appreciate you for having me on here, Mark, and thanks for the invite, Dylan.
Anytime, man.
No, yeah, people chiming in. Great show. They love your story. Smart guy. So yeah, we might have to get you back on. Pick your brain a little bit more later on. Talk about basketball or something. But thanks for doing this, Dylan. Thanks for recommending getting Seth on. Any final words from you, Dylan?
No, I don't have anything today. I think this has been a really good one, though. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, just remind everyone, have a great start to your weekend. I will be back tomorrow, a little bit later, though. I'll be here noon Eastern. It's going to be a live contractor call with some of the contractors in our community. So Frank, Old Guy REI, will be here. We'll have Carlos, the Fresno handyman, and Jim, the grumpy contractor, will be here. So bring all your live contractor questions and whatnot. But there we'll be answering your questions live tomorrow. So everyone have a